140.
Well, I'm shaking.
And they were probably sensing that something special was going to happen. And as I say, I had the momentum on my side. I was world champion and things were going right for me. And I wasn't ideally placed on the black either. But, you know, fate, I think, played its part, and there was no way I was going to miss it. And all of a sudden it went in, and I realised I was just, not just world champion, but the first player ever to make a 147 break on television. And more acclaim, and it was marvellous.
And I'll bet Steve at this moment can see the pocket closing up and closing up and getting smaller.
No. There it is! Beautiful! 147! Absolutely magnificent break. Oh, an incredible man. Absolutely fantastic. Just listen to the audience. He's got a standing ovation for that, and rightly so. Absolutely incredible break.
Returning to the Crucible as champion in 1982, Davis was in for a shock as he became a victim of the so-called Crucible curse on first-time champions. In reality, he was burnt out from too hectic a schedule. He lost 10-1 in the first round to Tony Knowles.
And perfectly on the blue, and
14.
And a little wave of the hand indicates that the Embassy World Champion has been defeated by Tony Knowles in a superb exhibition of match snooker.
Normal service was resumed the following year when Davis comfortably overcame the challenge of an exhausted Cliff Thorburn. Thorburn was 3 times taken the full distance on his way to the final. His 13-12 win over Terry Griffiths included the first 147 maximum in the history of the championship.
He hasn't come quite far enough. He's left himself a tough shot, but that's 15 reds and 15 blacks that he's taken now. Well, that was a marvellous yellow that Cliff Thorburn took then.
And that is perfect. That is perfect. Well, I don't think there's going to be another moment in Cliff's life when he's going to be so tense as this. Cliff. Oh, good luck, mate. Oh, wonderful. That is really, truly wonderful.
From losing the first 4 frames yesterday, Stevens battled back to within an ace of the semi-final. As it is, the Cliff Thorburn Grinding Company is still in business. Its proprietor has beaten his fellow Canadian Kurt Stevens 13 frames to 12 after a most memorable and dramatic match here at the Crucible.
In the semi-finals, Thorburn was again up against it. He had to win the last 3 frames to get past Tony Knowles. This was the climax to the decider.
Well, it's wriggled in the jaw, gone straight across.
What?
Poor Tony. And the old maestro wipes his hands and settles down again. That is a blow.
Five.
11 points the lead. At 10-4, he beat Terry Griffiths. At 2:15, he beat Kirk Stevens. I wonder what he's going to do at 1:05 in the morning.
Seven.
Oh, and he only wants the brown to go safe. And that was some pot, believe me. So 20 points the lead, 18 on the table. Tony Knowles requiring a snooker. And it does seem that this man has done it again. And not deciding to take any risks,
14,
just pushes the blue down the table. Well, a mistake there by Tony, and if Cliff can cut this blue in, that is surely it. And that is it. And the courage, the grit, the dedication, you name it, this man's got it. And Cliff Thorburn is in the final in a most memorable semi-final. He's beaten Tony Knowles, maybe with a little bit of luck, but who can deny him that with the majestic performances that he's put up through the championship? A truly remarkable snooker player.
He had nothing left for the final against Davis, who trounced him with a session to spare, 18-6.
It's all over. Steve Davis then continues his tapestry of titles by becoming Embassy World Snooker Champion of 1983.
The 1984 World Final was altogether tighter. This time, Davis's opponent was Jimmy White. Davis led 12-4 at the end of the first day's play. The second day was a different story, as White came after him.
Obviously, a moment that sticks in my mind was playing Jimmy White in the World Championship final. I beat him 18-16, but I was 12-4 in front overnight. And Jimmy staged a remarkable comeback, and I more or less fell over the line, but it could have been even closer. It could have gone to a final frame, I'm sure.
Jimmy White was a prodigy. He'd been the youngest ever world amateur champion in 1980. He potted like a demon and had a natural verve and flair. Like Alex Higgins, he was to become the people's favourite, although he was never, despite reaching 6 finals, to be world champion.
Quiet, please.
Jimmy White walks quietly back to his chair.
Thank you.
He was a long, long way away from that one.
Yes, he got rather impatient there. And this is probably the best chance Steve's going to have. Not an easy green, but should he get it, must finish on the brown.
Jimmy sees the championship now drifting away from him.
Quiet, please. Seven.
A great champion. He is achieving what nobody else has done before. A great performance then by Steve Davis, defending his title and winning it for a second time here at the Crucible Theatre to win the Embassy World Snooker Championship 1984.
The 1985 World Final was a high watermark in the history of snooker. Its climax, the deciding frame of 35, remains the most memorable in the history of the game.
The worst place that Steve can finish is straight on the green.
It set television records. It was the largest British television audience for a sporting event, the largest BBC Two audience ever recorded, and the largest British after-midnight audience. This was the unbearably tense conclusion to the 68-minute deciding frame.
Well, amazingly enough, he's got a snooker from that. In fact, he avoided the pot on the green, in choice and preference to the snooker, hoping to rattle the green in the jaws and leave the white ball behind the pink. Under the circumstances, that's not finished out too bad.
Known as the cocked hat shot. $18 points in it, 22 points on the table. This frame now been going 55 minutes, the longest frame of the final. In another 3 minutes, it'll be the longest frame of the whole championship. Dennis had a go. Very tense moments here now at the Crucible Theatre. Both players under a great strain. Having a breathing exercise. Moving the black just might help Dennis. He wants the 4 balls.
It's a shot that Dennis is faced with. I don't think there's any way that he'll play the pot.
We're now into the longest frame of the championship. This, of course, the final frame of the championship, the final frame of the final. And still we don't know the result.
Afford to go for the pot. He only wanted the 1 ball.
The crucible now erupting.
Could we just quieten down, please? Thank you.
The final frame, the final black. That really quite incredible as Dennis Taylor goes to the World Trophy and prays to it.
What do you do with this one, Dennis?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Certainly going through his mind that he'd certainly like to play the double.
I have never known an atmosphere like this.
Once again, please.
John Williams, our referee, trying to keep the crowd in order. A good one.
Once again, please, thank you.
I'm sure Dennis wouldn't mind my saying he chanced his arm, and it's come out lucky. The defending world champion, Steve Davis, looks hard at that black.
That's it.
That was the biggest shot of his life.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
No. This is really unbelievable. He's done it.
Dennis Taylor, for the first time, becomes Embassy World Snooker Champion 1985. He is so thrilled. And a sad champion, Steve Davis, looks on. The whole place here at the Crucible erupting for this very popular Irishman. He is so happy. 2 major titles this season, and also the Irish Championship. A fabulous picture of a very happy and popular man.
Dennis Taylor, snooker champion of the world. What did you say?
I'll tell you what. It's a good job the black was over the pocket. But, well, I don't know, that's definitely, well, the greatest match I've ever been involved in my life.
Can I bring in the man who created the match with you, Steve Davis? Steve, it's a pretty tough moment, this one, isn't it?
Yes.
Can you believe what's happened here tonight yet?
Yeah, it happened in black and white.
But actual memories of characters within the game at the Crucible, you'd be hard-pushed not to actually put Joe Johnson up there as the most unlikely winner of the World Championship, and also the most charismatic in many ways. He played cavalier snooker. I'd lost to Dennis Taylor the previous year, and was expected to sort of wipe the floor with Joe Johnson in the final. I was supposed to have done all the hard work to get there, and Joe had the miracle and got to the final, and he was expected to be the person that everybody said, well done, Joe, but you know, you did really well, but that's as far as you're going to go. But Joe Johnson had been playing marvellous attacking snooker. He didn't change his game at all, and he just totally outplayed me.
Six. And Joe will be, I'm sure, thinking now, all I've got to do is hold myself together and the championship's mine.
7.
There's enough reds all round the centre of the table. Obviously too straight on the red in the middle, but would want to be the other side of the blue.
14.
Right back in position.
20.
And he'll certainly never have a better chance than this of becoming world champion. 15 points in front.
And Steve must be becoming resigned now to
26.
becoming runner-up for the second year running. What a tournament to win for your first one, the World Championship.
And Joe, quite rightly, not rushing at all this break. You can obviously see this is the one.
$27.
By taking the green there, of course, it means he needs both reds, red in a colour and the last red, to clinch this vital frame.
Just 17 days ago, he was a rank outsider.
And from having the devastation the year before, where my whole world effectively seemed to collapse, my snooker world collapsed around me, of having Dennis beating me in the final frame and having all eyes on it, I then was the loser the next year, but in a totally different way. I felt as if Joe had totally outplayed me, and I had no gripes, nothing to complain about. I hadn't thrown it away, and Joe was the rightful world champion.
Steve, just waiting in his chair, I'm sure, to... The brilliant potting of this fella from Bradford. Nothing to stop him now. The cue ball, not quite. It must be said, he's had the run of the balls, but it takes nothing away from his brilliant potting. And still thoroughly enjoying every moment of it. The crowd here at the Crucible are going mad for Bradford's Joe Johnson. The most remarkable world final I've ever seen. And Joe Johnson defeats Steve Davis 18 frames to 12 as the capacity crowd go completely mad.
He came back the next year after having had an awful season, not getting to the final stages of anything, not getting past the first round, it seemed. And everybody said, well, Joe Johnson, one-hit wonder. You know, he won't get past the first round. And what did he do? He got to the final the next year. Absolutely astonishing. Fortunately for me this year, that year, the things had changed a bit, and I sort of had the mental resolve to beat him second time around. Perhaps it was too hard a job for Joe to do it twice on the trot, but it certainly wasn't lightning striking just the once, because he nearly struck twice.
71. $78. Steve Davis, 78.
He breaks down at 78. But Joe Johnson, the defending champion, is the first to come out and congratulate Steve Davis.
Davis added his fifth world title in 1988, beating Terry Griffiths in the final.
already had 2 centuries this evening. And still concentrating, but it's all over for the 5th time. Steve Davis becomes world champion.
And 6th in 1989, trouncing John Parrott 18-3. It seemed inconceivable at the time that the age of Steve was drawing to a close and that the age of Stephen was about to begin.
If you're very good, you may just become the finest player of your generation. A Joe Davis, a Ray Reardon, even a Steve Davis. But in my opinion, there is one player who is out there on his own, and he is Stephen Hendry.
I think I'll win it in the next 5 years.
It took 4 years for Hendry to fulfil his prediction. He came to the Crucible in the spring of 1990, having already won 3 ranking events that season, and he beat Jimmy White 18-12 to become the youngest ever world champion, thus robbing Alex Higgins of that distinction. Tried to develop the red from the side cushion.
69.
But the other one went anyway. And with that break of 71, Stephen Hendry brings a great championship to an end. He has beaten Jimmy White by 18 frames to 12 to become the youngest ever champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, from England's final, your appreciation please for both players, Jimmy White and Stephen Hendry.
Hendry dominated the 90s, but for the occasional blip, like his defeat by Steve James in the 1991 quarter-finals at the Crucible. This seemed to clear the way for White to win the title at last, but he was blitzed 7-0 by John Parrott in the opening session of the final, and in fact lost by 7 frames, 18-11.
And that is the shot that's going to finish this championship.
And John Parrott's waited a long time for this. He's suffered some defeats and disappointments on the way, but finally the whirlwind Jimmy White concedes to John Parrott, and a very deserving champion. John Parrott wins the Embassy World Championship 18 frames to 11.
1.
Hendry regained the title through a stunning recovery against White in the 1992 final. White was leading 14-9 with just 1 frame of the penultimate session left. In this, White took a 52-point lead. It looked as if he was going to be 6 frames in front, with only the 11-frame concluding session to come.
9.
Well, Stephen leaving himself a red to the right middle.
16.
Well, these next 2 reds and colours shouldn't prove a problem.
24.
The one near the baulk line might.
25. 32. $33.
Well, Hendry tried to develop the pink with his previous shot. Found himself still with a shot at it.
39.
It being one of the difficult balls that he needed for a clearance. This is the other.
$40.
And that's hard luck. Cue ball comes another couple of inches. He just dropped the blue into the middle and nicely on the yellow, as it is. Well, this really is a terrific gamble. And that's why he's the #1 in the world. Wonderful shot.
44. $46.
As he was playing the brown, Hendry knew that if he missed it, he was almost certainly going to be 6 frames behind at the interval.
$49.
But he potted it, left himself plumb on the yellow, and is now in a position to polish off the frame.
53.
Twice white has been 6 frames in front.
$58.
And with that resolute 64 clearance, Stephen Hendry wins the last frame of the afternoon. Jimmy White, though, leads by 14 frames to 10 going into the final session. That clearance shook White to the core. He didn't win another frame. Hendry prevailed 18-14 and also won their 1990